Give me the camera. Give it off, down.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Defending Your Movie here on Screen.com. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite superhero films, namely Hulk from 2003. This movie was such a famous burnout at the box office that it inspired a reboot, The Incredible Hulk with Ed Norton, just 5 years after it came out. But was it really that bad? I'm going to make the argument today that this movie deserves a bit of a reappraisal and that it really helped push the boundaries of what was possible in a comic book adaptation. Let's start out by admitting some flaws in this film though. Now I like Eric Bana as an actor, but unfortunately Bruce Banner as written would have been difficult for anyone to pull off.
Were you wearing the helmet while she dumped you?
See, it protects my very important brain, Harper.
As it is, Bruce in this film is really kind of boring until he starts hulking out, at which point he just starts acting crazy and grunting a lot. And I mean a lot. Also a bit over the top is Nick Nolte as Bruce's father. He's supposed to be crazy, but he comes off as just incredibly creepy and off-putting.
Beautiful woman like you.
If nothing else, though, Nolte's performance did grace us all with one of the best mugshots in the history of the internet.
To see you.
Lastly, this movie goes too far out of its way to ensure that the Hulk never kills anyone, to the point where it's apparently possible to survive being inside a tank that gets thrown a mile across the desert. I'm well aware that audience sympathy would be turned against Banner and the Hulk if he wound up killing innocent people, but the whole point of the Hulk in this incarnation is that he's full of uncontrollable rage, which doesn't really jibe too well with all the ways in which he goes out of his way to avoid hurting you. One of the movie's strengths, however, is Ang Lee's firm commitment to make this film more of a psychological drama than a comic book movie, which isn't something that we were entirely used to in 2003.
Puny human.
Hulk really kind of throws out any notion of being humorous, aside from the obligatory Stan Lee, Lou Ferrigno cameos, in favor of some pretty dour storylines, such as the murder of Banner's mother, the strained relationship between Betty and her father, and Bruce's father's obsession with exploiting his son's unique properties in order to steal his strength. The darkness is also kind of literal here, as the Hulk is kept in the shadows for most of the first two-thirds of the film, including a really bleak fight against 3 Hulk dogs that his father is sent to kill Betty. In retrospect, it's kind of shocking that anyone would greenlight the idea of Hulk fighting a dog pack, let alone killing them by ripping them apart and punching his way into one of their throats and following that by almost choking his ex-girlfriend. It's a little weird when you describe it out loud, but it's actually a freakishly intense fight scene, especially for a PG-13 comic book. This scene is followed a few minutes later by the Hulk's escape from the military base, which is probably one of my favorite action sequences of the last decade. It's a full 20 minutes of Hulk rage, and it helps to showcase one of the film's most notable elements, its editing.
Ready room, send in our containment.
Lee and his editor Tim Squires reportedly put 2 years into the editing of this film, and I think it's pretty clear that all of that effort wound up on the screen. There's a ton of flashy montage edits, split-screen effects, and transitions in Hulk, which allowed Lee to show off the choreography of scenes from multiple angles in the same shot, as well as make an ambitious ode to the comic book roots of the film. Now, I'm a layman when it comes to editing, but the effort on show here is still striking to me even 7 years later, and it gives the film an amazing vitality even in its darkest moments. And lastly, I really like the performances of Jennifer Connelly and Sam Elliott in this film. Now, Connelly is probably a bit classier than this film deserves, but if you compare her performance here with that of Liv Tyler as Betty Ross in the film's reboot, you can really see how this movie might have gone off the rails a little bit without a strong performance from Betty Ross. I can only imagine how difficult it would be to emote when you're looking at a cardboard cutout that's standing where the CGI Hulk is supposed to be. And I think it goes without saying that Sam Elliott could read the phone book at us and make it interesting, but still, he brings an effortless gravitas to the role of General Ross, who is given the almost impossible task of keeping the Hulk
He's working in the same exact goddamn field his father did.
Now, granted, this movie does have a silly ending, but it's still easily one of my 5 favorite superheroes. And in an age where darker, more psychological superhero flicks are becoming more the norm, it deserves another look. And that's all the time we have for today, but feel free to let us know what you think of the Hulk in the comments. Am I crazy, or do I have a point? We'll see you next time on Defending Your Movie.